Life is a regulation game, so cooperate with your nervous system. Keeping your nervous system well regulated matters because it's your best bet for health, happiness, and good relationships. This three-part series covers how the autonomic nervous system evolved, strategies for shifting out of threat responses, and considerations for dealing with triggers and dysregulation. Dysregulation leaves us anxious, depressed, disconnected, and eventually sick and unable to contribute. So let's talk about regulation and your autonomic nervous system. So, what does it mean to regulate your nervous system? The simple answer is that to regulate means to shift gears in your nervous system so you have the energy you need for the situation at hand. You can calm down to rest and heal, rev up for work and play, and adjust for communication. That way, we do not waste energy being too revved up when it's time to calm down for sleep, or waste time because we cannot get ourselves going, or annoy our communication partners with talk that is too fast, or too slow, or misattuned. How do we regulate our nervous systems? Well, it's complicated, because we humans are complicated. So, let's take an organized approach. Here's the overview. Part 1 is about basics. What are we regulating? Our three-layer autonomic nervous system. We'll get to know it by naming and color-coding its three layers, understanding where it came from and what it does for us. Then we look at our three threat responses because they are the core regulation issue. In Part 2, we'll consider regulation strategies for ourselves and others. And in Part 3, we'll take a look at triggers and then at what regulation and dysregulation mean for our individual and collective survival and our political process. Here's the terminology I learned in high school biology. Anatomically, there's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Physiologically, there's the voluntary or sensory motor system. Its job is sensing and moving. It controls our muscles and sensory organs so we can do things intentionally, like walk, talk, chew, build things, and orient to threat if we need to. And there's the autonomic nervous system. It's in charge of basic survival, generating energy for life, assessing danger, and reacting fast to any threat. ANS stands for your autonomic nervous system. Think automatic. It's like the operating system of the body. It coordinates the complicated unconscious systems that keep us alive, like the cardiovascular system, digestion, sleep, the immune system, and the inflammatory system. It also determines the threat response in every cell in your body, which of course means it has a huge effect on your emotions. So when we talk about regulating our emotions or our nervous system, we're talking about regulating our autonomic nervous system, and especially our threat responses. We talk about three layers of the brain and autonomic nervous system. The slides in this video are color-coded to track them. Blue for the old parasympathetic nervous system. We downshift to relax, drop anxiety, digest our food, or go to sleep, or we downshift in a freeze response to fear or shame. Magenta for the sympathetic nervous system. We rev up different amounts to get out of bed in the morning, or to cook dinner, or to run for our lives. Aqua for the social nervous system. We adjust delicately for social engagement, so we can find just the rhythm and level of intensity that works for each different communication partner or situation. The brain and our autonomic nervous system evolved in at least three overlapping stages. The reptilian brain or brainstem with the parasympathetic nervous system, the mammalian brain or limbic system with the sympathetic nervous system, and the human brain or cortex and neocortex with the social nervous system. In high school, I learned that the autonomic nervous system had just two main parts, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. They were supposed to be reciprocal, meaning when one went up, the other went down. We could either be in fight or flight or in rest and digest. Then Stephen Porges did the research to reveal and understand the social nervous system and the hierarchical way the three systems work together. We have three threat responses. Each evolutionary leap added a new and more adaptive threat response. The different threat responses evolved from the bottom up: freeze, hide, dissociate; fight or flight; communication, for a collaborative survival strategy. It is efficient to use the most evolved threat response first and drop down the ladder if it fails. Plan A, the social threat response, might be, "Okay, folks, here's how we're going to handle it. Are you with me?" Then, if Plan A fails, we drop down to Plan B, fight or flight, every man for himself. If that fails, we go reptilian. We freeze or hide or play dead. Only we are not playing, we are scared stiff. So we may not be able to move or speak or feel or even think. When fear trumps logic. Our autonomic threat responses override conscious thinking. Fear trumps logic when we do not feel safe. We evolved to stay alive first and think about it later. Stephen Porges says, "The most significant threat to our health and relationships is staying caught in unnecessary threat responses." I developed co-regulation exercises because co-regulation is the most efficient way to shift gears in our nervous system. So you know we will get to that. But first, join me in part 2 to learn about common regulation strategies and ways to shift out of threat responses.